What if I told you that a $5 bill could change two lives forever? That one moment of kindness could travel through time and come back when you need it most? This boy had no idea that the stranger watching him would become his guardian angel. And she had no idea that 20 years later he would save her life. But before we get to that miracle, we need to go back to the night when everything changed. Millbrook, Ohio, 1998. A small town where the scent of fresh baked bread could make your stomach ache with longing. And $5 was the difference between sleeping hungry or sleeping satisfied. Meet Marcus, 12 years old, an empty stomach, and a heart too proud to beg. Every evening after school, he'd stand here, watching families buy what he could only dream of. But tonight was different. Tonight, his mom was working a double shift at the diner, and the cupboards at home were bare. Watch this moment carefully, because what happens next will echo through the next 2 decades.
Mr. Murphy, wow, please. Just one loaf. I promise I'll pay you back when Mom gets her paycheck Friday.
Son, if I gave free bread to everyone who promised to pay later, I'd be out of business by Christmas.
And that's when fate decided to intervene.
Tom, wrap up that whole wheat loaf for the boy. And throw in some of those dinner rolls. Growing kids shouldn't go to bed hungry.
In that moment, Marcus learned something his textbooks never taught him. That angels don't always have wings. Sometimes they just have kind hearts and a $5 bill.
Take this home to your mama, sweetheart. And remember, kindness is like a seed. Plant it, and it always grows back.
He never forgot her words. He never forgot her gentle smile. And most importantly, he never forgot the promise he made to himself that night.
One day I'll help someone the way she helped me.
20 years can transform a person completely, but some transformations are simply miraculous. The boy who once couldn't afford bread refused to let circumstances define his destiny. Business degree from Ohio State, academic scholarship, food distribution company, started in his garage with a $10,000 loan, now supplying grocery chains across the Midwest. But success never made him forget his roots, or the woman who saved him on his hungriest night. Rose Henderson, age 72, the same hands that once gave without hesitation, now trembling with illness. Doctor gave the sad news: heart surgery, $85,000 minimum. Without it, maybe 4 months. The woman who spent her life giving to others had saved almost nothing for herself after her husband's long illness. Church congregation raised $12,000, the whole town's pulling for Rose. She never complained, never asked why her, but somewhere in the universe, an old debt was about to be repaid with interest. What happened next? The hospital staff still gets chills talking about it. Picture Rose sitting in that sterile billing office, surrounded by medical forms and payment plans she could never afford. The clerk's fingers clicking across the keyboard, pulling up her account, and then stopping. Dead silence. Because what appeared on that screen was impossible. Every single charge, the $85,000 surgery, the medications, the private recovery room, even 6 months of follow-up care, all marked as paid in full. Rose's weathered hands trembled as the clerk explained what she couldn't understand. An anonymous donor, a cashier's check that had arrived that very morning. No name, no message. Just enough money to save her life, and then some. For months, as Rose slowly healed in that hospital garden, walking with her walker among the autumn leaves, she would look up at the changing sky and wonder, who in Little Millbrook had that kind of money? And more mysteriously, why would they choose to save a woman they didn't even know? She never suspected that somewhere in the city, a successful businessman was watching the sunset from his office window, finally able to sleep, peacefully for the first time in months. She never imagined that the answer to her prayers was someone whose life she'd changed with nothing more than a $5 bill and a kind heart. The circle was turning, but Rose wouldn't discover just how beautifully until fate brought them together one more time. October 2019, Millbrook Harvest Festival, where past and present would finally collide in the most beautiful way. There sat Rose on that old wooden bench, watching children laugh and play the same games she'd watched decades before. The autumn sun painted everything in gold, including the moment that would change her understanding of miracles forever. A voice behind her, gentle, familiar somehow, though she couldn't place it. "Mrs. Henderson, I don't know if you remember me." And when she turned, Rose saw a successful-looking man approaching, well-dressed, confident, but something about his eyes. Those eyes, large, expressive, grateful, eyes she'd seen before, looking up at her in a bakery window 21 years ago. Recognition hit her like a warm wave washing over her soul. "Marcus," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Little Marcus from the bakery?" And when he smiled, that same hopeful smile from so long ago, she knew. The hungry boy had become the guardian angel. And then came the words that would complete a circle 2 decades in the making. 21 years ago, you bought me dinner when I had nothing. A few months ago, I simply returned the favor. In that moment, the circle completed itself. Past and present merged into one perfect truth. The $5 bread had traveled through time, growing from simple kindness into life-saving grace. Two souls connected by compassion, finally understanding the beautiful mystery they'd been part of all along. And as they sat there, tears of gratitude mixing with autumn sunlight, Marcus spoke the words that would echo in her heart forever. "You saved my life that rainy night, Mrs. Henderson. You taught me that kindness isn't just something you do, it's who you choose to be." 21 years, one act of kindness, 2 lives forever changed. And in that moment, watching the Harvest Festival continue around them, both Rose and Marcus understood they had witnessed something far greater than coincidence. They had lived proof that love always finds its way home. They say what goes around comes around. But this story proves something far more beautiful. Kindness doesn't just return to you, it multiplies, it compounds, it becomes something miraculous. A $5 loaf of bread became an $85,000 surgery, but the real value was never in the money. It was in the belief that someone cared, that someone saw your worth when the world seemed to look right through you. So the next time you have a chance to be someone's Rose, remember Marcus's story. Remember that your kindness today might be someone's miracle tomorrow. Your small act of love could be the beginning of someone else's greatest comeback. If you like this story, subscribe to our channel. Every week you will find new stories that will touch your heart. If you thought one loaf of bread could change a life, wait until you see what a single broken toy can do. This is our next story of a small act of kindness that inspired a lifetime of giving. Don't miss the broken toy, only here on The Day Everything Changed.